Good morning from the island of Amorgos, Greece. I am so grateful to be here with you this morning and share just a few exercises that I really use on a daily basis or 3 times a week for strengthening and stretching the back. So the first exercise is on your belly, so prone, and with a scoliosis, with a lateral curvature of the spine, as you know, or as you may know, there's also a rotational component that happens. So for example, with a right thoracic scoliosis, which is my curve pattern, the right ribs protrude in the back and the left ribs are concave in the back side, opposite in the front. My left ribs are a little forward more than my right. So when I move into a prone position, one prop that can be helpful is a simple washcloth at home, or on Pilates Therapeutics there are specific wedges for scoliosis. They can be purchased anywhere, other places as well, but I got mine through Dr. Suzanne Martin of Pilates Therapeutics. So I'm just going to show with a washcloth today because that's all I've got, and we will start on belly. So you can make your way down onto your belly and just place the washcloth underneath your left ribs if your left ribs are pushing forward more than your right. If you have a right thoracic scoliosis, that is often the case. You may even want to have 2 washcloths underneath your left ribs for a little more lift. And then ground down through your pubic bone in front of your pelvis. Forehead just hovers off of the mat. And with your inhalation, slowly float up left arm and right leg. Eyes can peel up to the front of the mat. Exhale to lower down. Inhale, float up right arm, left leg. And exhale to lower down. And let your breath lift your limbs. Exhale to lower. So breath starts, then the action. And exhale down. This can be nice and slow, focusing in on your breath. And you can do a set of about 10 and repeat twice or 3 times. And then when you've finished your set, you can bring your hands right down along your rib cage. Push the ground away, knees on or off of the mat. And the knees can be about hip width apart. Hands walk out a little in front of shoulders. Full length exhale, hips reach to heels. Stretching your low back. And then you can do this 10 times, inhaling up to a quadruped or all fours. And then exhaling back, stretching low back. Palms press into the floor as sits bones reach towards heels. Inhale up. Exhale back. Inhale. Exhale. Let's do 5 more. And last one. And then come right on up to all fours. So if prone, laying on belly does not feel good for you for any reason, you can also strengthen your back from a quadruped position. So first, just zip up pubic bone to navel without tucking your tailbone, just a neutral pelvis, a little lift of abdominals. And without shifting your pelvis, just simply glide your left leg back parallel to the mat, lifting up parallel to the ground, and then sweep your right arm forward just below your ear. Exhale to lower down. 1 breath, 1 movement. Inhaling, right leg, left arm, sweep forward, pelvis stays centered. Exhale to lower down. Inhale to reach. Exhale to lower. Inhale. Exhale. And again, you can do about 10 repetitions and 2 or 3 sets of 10. Keeping your neutral spine. Breathe into the sides and back space of your lungs, especially the back of your left lung if you have a right thoracic scoliosis. And rest. And you can walk your hands forward. Again, rest in child's pose. And I talked about side bends in another video, but we'll just take a little side bend over to the right. If you have a pillow or a blanket handy, you could place it at your left thigh, and so that when your hips reach back, your left ribs have a little cushion, slightly derotating the rib cage and thoracic spine, since in a right thoracic scoliosis, the left ribs will often rotate forward and right ribs back. And take a few deep breaths right into the back lower portion of your rib cage and lung. And when you're ready, come on up, and you can walk your hands over to the other side. And again, reach your hips back. And drawing your right ribs in towards the center line of your body to keep length through your right side waist on this side. If you have a right thoracic scoliosis, and if it's a left thoracic, you can just reverse what I'm saying with. And then just take a cat and cow stretch, rounding up to cat, inhaling to cow. And back to a neutral spine. You can shift your weight over to one side, extend your legs out in front, and then take a yoga block and we'll place it right between inner thighs. And scoot forward and roll onto your back. The block can be at the medium width or the narrow width, right between inner thighs. Hands can rest right down by your sides. Ground down through all 4 corners of your feet. Give a squeeze into the block. Curl your tailbone towards the sky. So you're tipping your pelvis back towards your shoulders. Draw your chin a little towards your chest and feel the back of your spine elongate. And relax back to your neutral spine. Again, tailbone curls under. Chin draws a little towards chest. Abdomen hollows. Breathe into the sides of your lungs and exhale to rest. Now, if you have a washcloth handy, for comfortability, if you notice your left ribs are a little lifted from the ground, like mine are, my right ribs are pressed down, but my left ribs, the concave side, has a little lift. So you might place a wedge or a washcloth, since I don't have a wedge today, just underneath your left rib cage, so you have something to press into. And you can really actively press your left ribs down into the floor, and then even weight across the back of pelvis. And maybe even take your hand to your left rib cage and just feel your ribs dropping down into the washcloth, something to press into if that rib cage is lifting. A little bit of feedback for your body. Take a few deep breaths here into the sides of lungs. And you can inhale your arms up and overhead. And as your arms reach overhead, still press your left ribs and right ribs down into the floor. Exhale, return your arms back by your sides, giving a little squeeze into the block. And again, let your ribs sink down into the floor and washcloth as your arms reach overhead. Feet are light on the floor to feel your core activate. Exhale down by your sides. Inhale. Lengthening the back of your spine. And exhale down. Then curl your tailbone under and just roll your hips on up into a bridge, squeezing into the block. Exhale, roll down through your rib cage, your low back, sacrum, and your tailbone. You can stay with this variation, or we'll add on in a moment into a cross-lateral pattern, which we were working on in prone and also in quadruped just a moment ago. So this can be done with or without the block, whatever is comfortable for you. Inhale, left arm sweeps up and overhead along your ears. Curl your tailbone under, hips lift up to sky. Keep squeezing into the block, extend your right leg long with thighs parallel. Bend your right knee, place your foot down, roll down through your spine, into the floor and washcloth. Return your left arm by your side. Inhale, right arm lifts up and overhead. Exhale, tailbone curls under, roll hips to sky, and left leg out stretches. If possible, try to keep your left hip level with your right. Bend your left knee, place your foot down, roll down through your spine, return your right arm by your side. We'll do a set of 10. Inhale up. Exhale. Right leg reaches. Bend, roll down. Left arm returns. And if your range of motion for shoulder is here instead, that's fine, wherever is comfortable for your shoulders. And if the one-legged variation does not feel good today, you can keep both feet on the floor. Strengthening glutes, hamstrings, back. And just a few more rounds. And you can also try it without the block. If it bothers your knees at all to have that block between knees, definitely just keep thighs parallel instead. But now that you have felt the block, imagine that it's there. So you still have that subtle magnetism of your inner thighs towards one another with knees on parallel tracks. Inhale, exhale. And last one. And then rest. And again, just press your left ribs and right hip down to the ground. And you can bring your hands to the sides of your lungs here, or like you're giving yourself a hug, and just breathe into your hands. Exhale, and then you can tip your pelvis back, float your knees on up to a tabletop. If you have a magic circle at home, this can be done also with a magic circle, or simply by placing a pillow between your knees and giving a squeeze in. I'm going to use my arms, so reach your hands down just above knees at inner thighs and just widen your knees apart. This is to strengthen pelvic floor. First, just allow pelvic floor to relax and stretch. And then with your exhale, just slightly zip up pubic bone to navel, so tailbone curls around towards navel. And with your exhale, press your arms out into your legs as your legs press into your arms until your hands are about a pomegranate distance apart. And let your shoulder blades drop into the floor. Take 3 breaths, breathing into the washcloth. And exhale, relax. Knees widen. We'll do 2 more. Pressing your left ribs into the washcloth. Pubic bone zips to navel. Exhale, press in. And take a few deep breaths. Pressing out with your arms and in with your thighs. Each exhale, feel the lift of the base of your core. Inhale, relax. Knees widen. Last one. Pubic bone zips to navel. Exhale, legs press in, arms press out. Lifting through base of core as your left ribs press into the washcloth. And relax. Hands to knees. Just circle your knees around. Feel your femur bones circling around hip sockets. Head of femur bones gliding in acetabulums. And back to center, arms and legs lift to sky. Give it a little shake, 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 shake it out. And then rest. You can remove the washcloth, place it aside, roll to one side, yield into the floor, and peel yourself. And then just find your sits bones. Take a few deep breaths. And then just take a little slump. And from that slump, find your sits bones, roll up through your spine. Nice tall spine. And you can press up through your palms, let your shoulder blades plug down your back. And feel your ribs lift up away from your hips. Press up through your palms and crown of head. If this wrist position isn't comfortable, you can be here instead. Or here. Or here, wherever is comfortable for you. Just take a few deep breaths, growing tall. Exhale to lower your arms down to your sides. Circle your shoulders back and down. And then inhale, hands to heart, elbows together. Circle your wrists, warming up for a little weight bearing again. And the other direction. Opposite pinky in front, circle. Exhale, palms face out. Exhale, circle your wrists down. And we'll come up to all fours again. And spread your fingers nice and wide. Curl your toes under. Lift your knees just an inch as you lift up, navel towards spine. And lower down. And in fact, let's do this with a block between your inner thighs. So you can place the block at the medium width or the narrow width, but these blocks are quite narrow, so I'm going to use the medium width between inner thighs. Hands stack right under shoulders, toes curl under, squeeze into the block, and again, just lifting up and lower down. Shoulder blades wide on upper back. And again, feel the length in the back of your spine as you float your knees up and lower down. One more time, float up, and then send your hips up and back to inverted V, or also known as downward facing dog. And you can squeeze into the block and feel the flesh of your inner thighs reaching back towards the wall behind you. Feel your scapulae, your shoulder blades, widen across your upper back. And then notice your breath into the sides and back space of your lungs. And feel your hips lift high away from your ribs. And walk your hands like a cat, stretching spine back slowly to meet your feet. And you can come up to your fingertips or hands on shins and just lengthen your ribs away from hips. Lengthen through the crown of your head and base of skull. And then you can bring your hands to your hips and hinge on up to standing. Inhale, arms lift to sky. Exhale, right down through center. And we will close here with one side bend, arms lift to sky, big breath in. Feel your ribs float away from hips. You can grab hold of your left wrist with your right hand. I'll show from this direction. And then, like your spine is a fountain shooting up to the sky and curving over, take a breath into your left lung, the back of your lung. And back to center, nice tall spine. And then on this side, draw your right ribs towards the center line of your body, opening up right side waist as you side bend a little to your left. And back to center, exhaling, arms lower down. Look to your right as right palm turns up, and then look to your left. Back to center, arms rise to sky. And we will close with hands at heart. Thank you so much for being here today. Wishing you a wonderful day. Namaste.